This Pitch Breakfast video is brought to you by Spangler & Agins, attorneys for Charlotte's startup community.
My name is Ryan Colby. I'm the founder and managing director for matchsuite. We are a new domain marketplace that helps startups discover the best domains at the best prices. We are seeking $250,000 from an angel investor, but I won't get too much into that because this is more of a business pitch. But the bottom line is we save startups time and money by curating domains for quality and price. Well, who is Ryan Colby? A little bit about me. I've collectively brokered over $50 million worth of premium domain names for clients over the last decade. I consider myself a veteran domain broker, probably in the half a dozen people in the world that can say that. I started my career up at Cito in Boston, which is the world's largest domain aftermarket for premium domains, and I earned a reputation for high-value domain sales at that job. I still hold many records for some of the highest public domain sales of all time. I helped Instagram acquire their .com before the company launched. That's sort of my calling card, sort of how I got started in the industry. I was also recruited by Domain Holdings Group as their Senior Vice President of Domain Acquisitions and Divestments, helped them pioneer a domain brokerage division from scratch, hired and trained 10 brokers. We did $13 million in the first year. About 4 years ago, I launched my own company called Outcome Brokerage, and we are a niche boutique domain brokerage firm. We do 100% of our business through referrals at this point in time. So I had a new vision. And basically, I realized that most startups can't afford to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars and even millions of dollars on a domain name. So I set out to create a more efficient marketplace to better serve startups by offering curated domain names for under $5,000 bucks. So what are the big problems? Well, the first major problem is that the naming process tends to be very painful and expensive for startups. They might only invest in a brand only to find that the .com is not obtainable, and this can have a very negative impact on brand strategy in the future. Second big problem, startups dislike large domain marketplaces. They're very bulky, there's too much technology, and they find it difficult to navigate. They don't want to negotiate with domainers that have unrealistic prices, which is a huge problem. So the conclusion is that domain marketplaces currently cater to sellers instead of buyers, and there's a huge need for a buyer-centric platform that delivers the best domains at fixed prices. So what did we do? We streamlined the entire naming process that basically takes startups, it saves them time and money, but eliminating domains that don't match our rigid criteria. So no domain marketplaces currently curate at the level we're going to curate at. The end result gives domain buyers an option to browse only these curated domains. And the second solution is that we've engineered a simplified search that enables buyers to find their perfect .com at the first price, eliminating the need for any negotiation. So what do we want to do at the end of the day? Disrupt the domain industry by reverse engineering the way domain marketplaces are designed by making them more efficient for buyers. So if you understand the domain name aftermarket, a few facts. Annual aftermarket sales for domains is approximately $700 million. That probably ranges up to $1 billion per year. We don't know the exact figure, but it's roughly $700 million a year. 95% of all domain names sell for under $5,000. So that is the bulk of domain aftermarket sales in that price range. What I do right now is the other 5%, which is high-value premium domain sales. What I'm seeing right now is the rise of brandable domains. Brandable domains right now are experiencing a rise in valuation because everything else is too expensive. Primary competitors, there's BrandBucket, which is the largest company in the industry offering brandable names, BrandRoot, Namerific. Some of the larger players, GoDaddy, Cito, and Uniregistry, are the larger registrars. So the company really has three models. We have domain acquisition and resale, where we buy our own names in auction, typically for under $20, and resell them for an average price of $2,500 per domain. We have marketplace platform brokerage, where we're going to help sellers sell their domains and charge them 20%. And then also the last part is exclusive premium brokerage, where I'm going to be wrapping my premium consulting services into the entity. Pro forma income statement, I won't get too much into that because that's more on the investor side. And it looks like I'm out of time.
What do y'all think?
Ryan, hey, great job, man. I feel like almost every time I see these pitches, I say, I'm like, you didn't tell me who you were and why we should be listening to you, and you did. You don't use the time wisely. You don't answer like the basic questions. And I wrote down a couple questions, and then you answered them. So great job on that. I'm actually going to ask one of the questions so you can actually highlight it, because you sort of introduce yourself and you're like, okay, one of your claims to fame, you know, the Instagram and how you've made your money is these big, you know, you found a company that had some deep pockets and you were able to sell them, you know, that really inflated domain. And I thought that that was where all the money was. But then you put up the slide that there actually is a big market. There's a lot of people. And I know the company that I founded, you know, we ended up with Jigsaw, which, you know, everybody was like, hey, it's a great name, but we agonized. We started with a not great name, and we agonized, and we butted up, and we spent way too much time as a fledgling company. My co-founder, who was the ideas guy, he spent way too much time on GoDaddy and domain.com or whatever, and trying to think of ideas only to be shot down because we couldn't get it, or somebody thought their domain was worth $1 billion. So, but at any rate, great job. You know, very straightforward presentation in the time allotted.
Thank you.
So I just went through this, and I had to go and buy stayasleep.com in the aftermarket. And it was a negotiation.
Okay. Yeah.
I happen to like the negotiation, so I'm not your average startup person. It's like, just check the box. I was like, okay, let's go. It's like, I also like shopping for cars, but I don't like shopping for mattresses, so that's why, you know, I have the business. But talk to me a little bit about, you know, who is that startup? So it's not Instagram. It's these brandable domains. And you're not talking about renting the domains. You're actually talking about a brandable domain that could be purchased.
Exactly. So a perfect example would be, you know, Y Combinator, or even here at Packard Place. It's companies that have a need for a good name, but they don't have a huge budget. So, but they still want a fairly decent quality name. Usually a strong two-word brandable that, you know, has some value around it. So it's a company who, you know, doesn't mind spending $5,000 or a little less for a name. They're actively searching to name their company, and they want to work with a broker to, you know, bring ideas to them instead of going through that painful process of dealing with domainers. Can be very difficult. Yeah,
there were a few other. I mean, I remember looking at some of the sites and saying, okay, well, gosh, this is just great. It's like CarMax. You know exactly this is how it's gonna you know, much it's gonna cost. I don't have to worry about it, and it's brandable. So I think you're onto something. How are you planning on getting to these startups? Because they tend to be like herding cats.
Well, the nice part about me is I've been doing this for a decade now, so I have a lot of relationships already established in Silicon Valley with a lot of the tech companies. But the nice part about brandables is that the major marketplaces use pay-per-click advertising very aggressively, and it works. So there's plenty of people searching Google every day for brandable domains specifically. So we've actually hired a company to analyze keywords that are going to run a very aggressive PPC advertising campaign, and then SEO on top of that, which is more of a year investment. So we want to get into search engines for the keywords, but it's advertising driven. And we've actually installed a live chat system on the site. So when we get somebody to the marketplace, a broker can start that dialogue right away. Hey, what are you looking for? What's your budget? And then, you know, make that connection. Because at the end of the day, we're really matchmakers. That's what we do. We match buyers and sellers together.
How do you see the three components of your business model? You had three components. How do you, we didn't go into the pro forma, but how much of that, how would you break it down into the buckets?
Yeah, it's pretty even across the board. I want to build a company that really all three divisions that are, you know, a third. So premium brokerage is probably going to make up 40% of the revenues, at least in the first year. as we build out and acquire more domains and build the marketplace. The nice part is we already have that business going, right? We're rolling it in to get some traction, but we really want to get the larger market that we haven't tapped into. But we want to get those 3 divisions equally performing.
Yeah, pay-per-click can be it can be expensive in that domain category.
Yes. Well, it can be expensive overall.
Overall, sure. But even in that, if you're up against GoDaddy, so I just wonder if there's ways that you can try to do niche campaigns or referral programs with some of the startups that you have coming in.
Yeah. Well, we don't really compete with GoDaddy in the sense that GoDaddy is really the complete aftermarket. We are really a brandable niche marketplace for startups specifically. So we would be marketing, targeting that very specific keyword. And but versus general marketing.
I mean, I definitely think you're onto something. I mean, again, there's a lot of people who just want to check that box and want to know that it has something that can be brandable and presented with some options. It's just a matter of how do you get to those people? How do you make sure that you're getting that buzz? You're delivering that value.
That's really what it is, and really the bulk of our financing is going to be put towards marketing and staff. Those are really the 2 things that we're looking for.
We have time. I got a couple questions, but I agree with Garth. Great, presentation. I'd like to see the rest of it at some point. I think it's one of the best ideas I've seen in a long time. I do have general concern about cost of customer acquisition. Like, I don't know, kind of what transaction fees would look like, and obviously at the premium side, you're getting 20% of a big number. I mean, you can fund the business generally, but the actual economics of like a $5,000 domain on a PPC basis, like to convert, I just don't know what that looks like. I mean, obviously you've run the math, but
yeah. So, for instance, for names that we acquire ourselves for the company, we're usually not going to spend more than $20 per name.
Okay.
So if we can give ourselves a 12-month window to sell that name, the ROI is huge on a per domain basis.
That's cheaper than I would have thought. I would have thought it'd been more expensive to get that search done.
Yeah, we have methodologies in place to get those names, which is sort of the secret sauce that we can get them, we can bid, we can acquire the names. On the seller side, there's less profit because we're taking 20%. Average fee is going to be $500 to $700 for a typical seller.
Yeah. So I just have one question. I don't understand kind of the industry, so the broker side of it, so just help me. It is a startup generally, there's lots of different kinds of startups. You've got company names, you've got service categories and product names. Sometimes the company name is different than the product name. The product name is the URL. Like,
yes.
Does someone come to you, a startup come to you with a company established and named, and then a URL to support it or to reflect it, or are you starting the other way? Like, I've got this company idea, but I need a URL because it's a SaaS company or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's both, but it's probably more. I have an idea, I have a company, we're rebranding, or we've got this amazing technology, now we need to link it up to a great name.
Okay.
Our names are primarily going to be for company names versus products, so it's more a brand play. If you look at a lot of the companies out there with Crunchbase every week, they're all brandables. Blue Apron, Home Chef, Crunchbase. I mean, they're all brandables, and this is a trend that's been very clear to me that I'm trying to get in on early. Same thing with your company, very brandable name, right? Generics are just, mattress.com. You're not going to spend $1 million for that. I mean, you might, but the risk is huge. You go with the brandable.
So my only comment then is, I think that there is, if you're interested, one, I have a domain I want to buy, so you can help me with that. The second is
I do it every single day.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I've already been negotiating the guy. He's a total, yeah.
So that's great. So that's the
situation.
Pain point.
So I'm familiar.
Yeah.
No, but I think there is a sales channel here for what it's worth. With our larger enterprise customers, we watch agencies rip them off time and time again for any kind of name associated branding. One of my large customers just paid $800,000 for an agency to do a branding project.
Wow.
And what came out of that was not only a terrible company name, but one of the worst URLs I've ever seen. So my point is, if there was a channel here, I would look at the agency world, because they're terrible at this. They don't know how to figure it out, especially driven in the way that you have. And especially if you've got data, to support, that this name both will work, that it will play well with search, it will do like all the things that you guys know about that the agencies kind of pretend to know about. They charge clients an awful lot of money for those types of branding exercises. So I would think that you might be able to kind of disrupt how agencies' names will too.
That's
They end up
actually-
with a lot of that business.
That's a great point, and we actually hit on that in our 2-minute video. So if you visit matchsuite.com, in the 2-minute video, you really pull that out. Is hiring a name agency could be thousands of dollars.
Oh, and it's
no guarantee for the
it's generally pretty awful, actually.
All right. Well, I don't have time for another one, so we'll call it there. Ryan Colby, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.